I'm really excited to be here on Mallorca again, and I was asked to actually start with a little introduction from where my thought space that I'm happy to share and take you on a journey now comes from. This, what you see here, is the Austrian Pavilion in Milan 2015 that we designed. So this is downtown Milan, and what the Austrian government accomplished was an oasis of an Austrian forest downtown Milan. And just taking you on this little movie for a few seconds. So imagine a place that is downtown, a city that breathes, the atmosphere of a forest. And with this imagination, I want to take you on this journey, actually here to Mallorca, and you see the Tramontana Mountains right here, where I could stay with my family actually last fall, and that is such an amazing environment, as you can all, of course, cherish this beautiful landscape, that you think, well, everything is fine anyhow, right? I mean, look at those amazing places we can appreciate. But there's this but, and we have just seen from Mario, thank you for this amazing sharing of yours. There's, of course, a backstory to it. And so let's go into a very quick reality check, And so the question is really about how can we tackle this amazing scale of issues and problems? Because all of you, you are change makers. So you are here because you are shaping the future. And the question is, look at that scale. Is there anything we can do about that situation? That situation that, really affects the immediate communities, even here on the island. All those situations that you have been through. Just an example from the neighboring island of Ibiza. You see these two aerial images from February 1st, 23 and 24, and you see this drought situation just, with your blank eyes. And that is a situation that is, of course, twofold, which is, one, it has this global dimension of changing climates, but then, of course, it has the local condition of practice, of how to work with the local condition of water. So in between that breadth, that field, that we have this global condition, but then there's a local one that we can very clearly influence and work on. I would like to take you on this journey, and we have to start here, a notion that you may not be familiar with, but it is the understanding where our mindset was creating that situation we are in. I'm talking about Western metaphysics, where we all come from in our understanding. Here, this cover from the Nature magazine for the first time talks about the Anthropocene. This was 2015, so almost a decade ago, right? And Carrie Young, this artist, in her work is exactly working on that condition, reflecting on where we come from. And the condition that you see here on the top right of separation between culture and nature, these dichotomies that we even speak, that we think, and that we practice, is creating that distance from us to what we call our environment. Another terminology that is actually really difficult because it talks about an outside, right? An environment. But there is no something like an environment, and I think that's what we really have to learn. The other really important aspect is that this mindset that we created, and that was very successful in the last 100 years, was an extractive mindset, as you all know. And now the big task is to go from an extractive mindset into an integral planetary mindset. So how can we actually go in this transition, right? We have heard amazingly today what the goals are, but how can we actually walk that path? How is it possible to take that action? And you see how that fields of engagements are going to change, right? And I want to take you on this journey of how we can actually really together walk that path. So I want to talk about innovation in the field of tourism, of designing destinations, because I'm actually amazingly optimistic about the potential of the field of tourism to be a leader in that changing landscape of our planetary world. And I want to take you into the so-called hinterland. I want to take you, because we are on Mallorca, show you this beautiful island from that perspective that you all are familiar with. And you see there is this, very amazing island with a big hinterland of agricultural production, of aliveness that you barely can see here, right? A living world that we have to understand in its potential to change microclimates on that scale. I'm sharing with you this distorted diagram of our planet, and you wonder, why did our continents get out of shape? What this diagram shows us is the productivity of CO2 capture, or the production actually of O2 in an annual cycle. Here you see October as the southern region of our planet is much more active in its activity of capturing CO2, and this is how our planet looks like throughout the year. So this is our world, this is our alive world that we have to invite, again, in tackling those issues that we are dealing with in terms of climate change. We talk here about planned performance, about the performative capacities of our world we want to invite back into our lives. And you can see here, in terms of carbon storage, that a big degree here happens in the soil in terms of carbon storage. I want to take this story to Mallorca and talk about the potential of activating this incredible way of carbon storage on an island like Mallorca. And as we know those stories from the island, where about 130,000 hectares are laying bare, right? You can see those images for good reasons. We don't have time now to discuss, but for good reasons. I'm wondering if there's a way to activate that land, to store carbon, but even more importantly, to create a community of active farming, of an ecological farming that has the potential to even influence in a positive way the microclimate on the island. So there's a game changer coming up that I'm really very excited about to share with you right now. And that game changer, of course, takes us first on a route. When you see this diagram of when we come from an horizon that has to change, which is the top horizon, number one here, when we think about, renovating our cities and our landscape in a way, there's certainly, that's the practice of a transition, but where we want to go to an economy that is really engaging the aliveness of our planet again, we have to start here and now. This is what the diagram talks about. You see, Horizon Dry is emerging and is reliant on an existing economy, but needs to be in response to be able to achieve that change of our economy. So the big potential that I'm talking about is actually the valuation of our natural world, of the performative capacity that I was just talking about. And this diagram from the IPCC shows two fields of action in climate mitigation. And you see here the sphere of the built environment that you can see on this line, and just above the sphere of the natural environment. And you see those levels going up far further than in the built environment. And that's why I really want to talk about the potential of land and landscape with you. What about if we, again, are able to combine and marry, co-create these two spheres into a societal practice that integrates the capacity of the natural world? And as we are discussing biodiversity credits in terms of the ESG reporting that is coming up, destination development is high up. There's a high demand in terms of developing destinations that even address the potential of biodiversity credits. So there's one practice in agriculture that just a few months ago has been accredited a carbon mitigation solution technology, which is biochar. I can't explain this in detail, but what you see, this charcoal is a special charcoal that captures carbon and scientifically proven stores that carbon forever in the ground for 97% of what you see here. This is being applied in agriculture as a nutrient, as a capacity to restore the soil on the islands in the Mediterranean, where the organic level of the soil has been decreasing to only a few percentage. So, with all this having said, this new appreciation of what we see about the natural world, the performative capacities of the natural world, I want to argue for new alliances to be taken. So we have to invent new ways of co-creation all together across all fields, and that makes it so interesting for the tourism sector, because the tourism sector, of course, is working on alliances with the hinterland, with the region, and with the communities. So it's a potential to activate all the communal capacities. We have heard about the SDGs before, and we all know that these conceptual silos in itself are, beautiful goals. But again, how can we activate those goals? And it is really about the idea of co-creation, of creating new models in which we combine all the different aspects of the SDG in a single societal communal practice. So, and I'm very optimistic about this, and I'm showing you going from this theory to a potential to a real practice example in a moment. So this potential of integrating, this way of co-creation, we actually worked on two examples with my students in Austria, in the last years, and looking at the islands on the potential for a co-creation of a bioregional system. And what I want to foreground again is the capacity of biochar. What we just briefly calculated is for Mallorca, the 130,000 hectares of fallow land produce 1.7 trillion calories, which can feed 1.9 million people annually, just to show you the capacity. So that is really just an amazing way to understand the capacity of our regions in reintegrating these hinterlands into our understanding of what we talk about a destination. We this summer we were working on Mallorca. This was just a big coincidence here, coming here. And looking at one local practice, which is Circle Carbon Labs here from Mallorca, and you see here the testing grounds of Circle Carbon, what it means to amend the existing soil on the island with biochar and having these kind of yields coming up. So there is already like a lighthouse project on the island where we can imagine, okay, when we take this into the community, engage farmers and allow them through carbon creditation of biochar to have an additional income. I think the entire understanding of what we talk about destination can change in a very beautiful way. I brought you one example of such an approach from Austria, and on purpose, not an example from a touristic background, but from a company that is producing ecological goods in Austria. And we applied for the Grüne Erde in Upper Austria the same principle that I was just describing, designing a communal networks of actors that are more than human, which means we're not talking only about humans and people and practices, we also talk about animals, we talk about microclimate, we talk about the soil, all part of this design of a more than human ecology for our future living neighborhoods. And so the Grüne Erde project in Upper Austria was built on a former cornfield, and really changing not only the landscape, the aesthetics, but in fact the social practice in neighborhood. We integrated a social communal agricultural farm where 82 farmers from the neighborhood, just neighbors, are engaging on the fields of this company, of their headquarters right now, and really enhancing the idea of what it means to have a company in their location, on their site. So you see, this organic farming made possible through the engagement of a company giving their grounds to that farm and achieving a communal, not only interest, but a communal discourse, a communal engagement in that village that was just simply not existing before. And so promoted also on the website of this company, Grüne Erde, something else actually started to happen. Tourism started to set in. So it became a destination, became really a destination. So there are tours across the company, across the headquarters that I'm going to show you in a moment, not only on a monthly basis, or not on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. There are tours now, there are really tourists have been setting in to experience that achievement, that true local practice of what landscape can do in creating a destination where there was only a cornfield before. And so we work on these pillars that you see here, where familiar terminologies, of course, are being visible. But I also want to talk about the aspect of how this all comes together. When we talk about ESG reporting, what if we are not talking about the offsetting of CO2, but about the insetting? And this is what we aimed for at the Grüne Erde. So all goals in terms of climate goals, we have been insetting, meaning we have been dealing with all those goals on the project side. And I think this is an amazing potential to think about, oh my God, instead of offsetting, how about insetting and enabling our sites, our neighborhoods, our destinations, our hinterlands with that potential that comes with the need of ESG reporting. So suddenly this need of a reporting turns into a potential for a local neighborhood. And I think this is an amazing way to understand the potential of the tourism sector as such. And again, so this is the approach that we worked on with the Grüne Erde. And this can even move into architecture. So when we think about, oh no, we are not separate from what we call nature as an outside or an environment. This is the Grüne Erde, and you see images from those courtyards that are actually climate active. And these courtyards substitute HVAC systems, so we are cooling actually this building, in inviting nature back into the building, and allowing this performance that you saw in terms of the diagram pumping, actually having in the building substituting climatization and cooling the building down. Why is this important? Because you can see, even from Harvard research, there's a big need to understand that air quality, of course, in our buildings is an issue we need to address in our cities, in our neighborhoods, because of human health issues. And what we did not expect to happen at the Grüne Erde site, at this headquarter, is what happened with their employees. What actually really happened is that in these environments, you see here some images in terms of the climate, the capacity to cool of those courtyards. What happened is that those people, the sick leave rate dropped to almost zero once the company moved into that building. But not only that, there are so many self-initiated applications to that company from people who want to work there. This company doesn't have the issue of a lack of employees and workers. And so that's actually not my achievement, but it's really the natural performance. It's really the aliveness of nature being drawn much closer not only to our hearts, but also to our buildings, right? Our neighborhoods, our social practice. So I'm really opting for that the tourism sector really, makes that step and, makes that step into the innovation of how we can get closer to those environments. This is an image of one of those courtyards in...
Because we have this panel, we want to give them time to explain, expose, and debate. We will push lunch to 2 p.m., just another half an hour, so you're going to have to be